Okay, welcome everybody. This is another version of Scott Talks. Today we're with a good friend of mine, Alissa Kuksis. She is been in the industry for quite a while. She's worked with Home Trust before this, and I worked with her there briefly. But she's been at the MIC called RiverRock for the past, how many years now, Alissa?
Almost 3.
3 years now. And so she's the main person I like to talk to when asking questions about MICs, because I think, as we all know, coming into this new year, it's going to be a very, very different time for brokers to find deals and place them in the right spots. And there's no such thing anymore as a AAA deal within the box. And a lot of your clients are going to be looking for outside help from different options. And as I said in the post that I put up on Facebook too, the diversification of your portfolio with these types of lenders is going to make sure that you don't lose that client if you ever have to get into a situation where you're unable to find that kind of information. So, Alissa, why don't you just say hi to everybody right now and just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're going to be talking about today, and then or actually just introduce yourself first. And I got a few questions off the bat. So
yes, my name's Alissa. I worked with Scott at Home Trust. So I was at Home Trust for about 3 years, and then I moved over to RiverRock. In the last 3 years, RiverRock has grown substantially. The number of underwriters and BDMs that we've been onboarding, you may have noticed, has really grown over the years. And that's just that's a fact of how much private business, I think, has really taken off over the last couple of years, and the need for it with brokers and with the clients. So yeah, we're just going to go over kind of the niches that RiverRock has and what private lending has, and yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. So that's a one thing that everyone's going to want me to do right off the bat, is to kind of ask those questions. And we all call them pain points, and they are very important in this industry to kind of talk about those right off the bat, to get the ugliness out of the way. Or if there's ugly questions that haven't been answered properly, then at least get the right information. So first off, I get a lot of people asking me, why can't the deal be funded fast enough through a MIC? Or why are there so many documents that are added to it? Or is it too expensive for me to go this way? And also to odd things like lower LTVs and everything like that. Can you kind of talk to how RiverRock is different, or how MICs can be different in these situations, and what's the best way to go about it?
Absolutely. Okay.
Perfect.
There's my screen. Okay. And I'm going to address every one of those questions. I'm glad you brought those up. So yeah, starting off with the quick funding, like I know a lot of MICs say, oh yeah, no problem, I can close quickly, but then they can't close for a couple of days. And sometimes a couple of days is not fast enough for, deals that fall through last minute at a B lender, or I can go with the MIC, or I have a private individual who has the funds and they can close tomorrow. So RiverRock is almost similar to a private individual in the fact that we can actually close in 24 hours. So not too many MICs have that functionality, and we do because we have a partnership with First Canadian Title. So not having to use the 2 lawyers to close the deal not only saves the client's money, but it also saves the client's time. So once the client has the appraisal completed, which they do if it falls through last minute at a B lender, or usually when they're in a time crunch, the appraisal is already completed. So that's huge for us. If the appraisal is already completed, we're able to scoop up the deal and close quickly. We've closed same day with some of these deals. Wow. So that's unheard of in the MIC space, and that's something that we are able to accommodate. Just not having the 2 lawyers back and forth. And just, we don't have heavy underwriting. Like, we are all about the property. We are 100% real estate driven. So if the property works for us, we're good. We're good to fund. Wonderful. So that's one of the huge things that we offer that not too many of the other MICs can do. And that's largely due to our FCT partnership and our quick, simple underwriting. You mentioned expensive. So yes, there are definitely a lot of MICs who are really expensive, but sometimes they don't show how expensive they are in the front end. So you see all the advertising, everybody gets their rate emails every Monday, and you see, say, $5.99, 1.5% lender fee. Yeah, that looks pretty great up front, but there's all these hidden fees back there that nobody knows about. Nobody knows about the admin fee, or the underwriting fee, or the legal fee, or the application fee. There's all kinds of fees that are made up and thrown in on the back end that aren't advertised up front, and then do cause the deal to be extremely expensive. So at RiverRock, we pride ourselves on being very transparent with our fees. So sometimes I'll quote a broker or an agent what ballpark kind of pricing they'll be looking at with us, and they'll say, oh, that sounds expensive. And I say, it might sound expensive up front, but that's all in. You're not paying anything else. right? So
Be
a
honest up
lot
front.
of
That's nice.
it becomes like a bait and switch, right? Like a client sees 599 too. Awesome, let's do that. And then at closing, you get a pile of fees that you didn't even know about up front. So with us, we're transparent with our fees. We don't add any additional fees. Ours is a rate, lender fee, and a story. We don't have any additional fees. So that's something that like is really important when you're working with mix, is knowing the difference, like knowing what mix charge these extra fees and stuff like that. You can't look at a rate and lender fee and just assume that's all in anymore. Like that's, if it seems too good to be true, I always tell my brokers and lender and clients, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. They will make up for that missing rate or missing lender fee or missing admin fee somewhere else along the line. If it's not at the originations, it's at payout, right?
Right.
So for us, sometimes I hear like, oh, you guys seem expensive, but it's no, we are upfront about our fees, and we want the clients and the brokers and the agents to know when they're closing the deal exactly how much it's going to cost.
Perfect. That's wonderful. Yeah. That's good to know
So,
too, because that is one of the complaints that I get mostly, is that brokers are not seeing the fees that they're going to be charged until the end. So that's wonderful. Thanks so much, Alyssa.
yeah, and it also kind of gauges how much the broker or agent want to charge for their own fee, because
Exactly.
they don't want to look at they see this, it ends up being 5% lender fee, and they're like, well, where's the room for me to make my money, right? And of course, the client's got to make money. Everybody's got to eat, or not the client, sorry, the broker.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to eat. You got to make your money. So it's important to know how much it's going to cost, the overall cost of borrowing. And I get it. Like it's important, and it can really stab the broker if you and it makes you look bad. Like it makes
Right.
the broker look bad if it comes up last minute, right? So we want to make sure that we're taking care of our partners, which are the brokers and the agents on the deal.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and then what else did you mention?
Oh,
Too many
sorry.
docs,
Yeah,
right?
documents. Let's talk docs. Yeah.
Docs. Okay.
Talk docs on Scott Talks. That's a good one to say right there.
That is good. We can add that to your title.
That's it. Yeah.
So docs, yes, there are a lot of mix that collect a lot of docs. You see mix looking for income verification, NOAs, employment letters, everything, like docs that we would never ask for in a million years. This is private lending, and we got to stick to private lending. We are equity lenders, and that's what we stick to. We're all about the property. We're 100% real estate driven. So for income, we don't have income requirements. We'll take a self-declared income letter with no supporting docs. We keep it very, very simple at RiverRock, which is how it should be, though. You can't charge $599, $699, $799, but ask for NOAs. Like it doesn't make sense, right?
It's so funny that you said that too. You nailed the head. You hit the nail on the head when you said that. It's about the property, the marketability. That's the whole idea of private lending, right? And so when you start pulling people apart like that, they might as well go to somewhere like Home Trust or something like that, because that's the same kind of thing that you'll be getting in that situation. No offense to Home Trust. I'm just saying, like, that's the whole point of moving into a private space, is to avoid that situation. So that's great. That's great.
Exactly. Like we don't look for bank statements to back up the self-declared income letter, because if they had bank statements to back up the self-declared income letter, they would be at Home Trust. Exactly. What you said. So we're really sticking to the real true private lending, equity lending. There are a lot of mix who ask for a lot of docs, or they're looking for more docs depending on higher loan to value deals. We are not like that. We're a full equity lenders all the way up to 80% loan to value. It's not like it's a 75% deal, less docs, or it's an 80% deal, now I need income docs. We don't do that, which is how it should be. At the end of the day, we're all about the real estate, which is how private lending really should be. Loan to values. You mentioned low loan to value. Okay, so we do 80% loan to value. Every MIC is different. Every MIC has their thresholds that they're willing to do. 80% is what we do, which is probably one of the higher ones. I know a few of them go up to 85, but it's very case by case. But with the 80%, one thing I like to mention is it's not a bundle 80%. So it's getting really common that MICs are doing bundle 80s. So that's super expensive, because then you have two MICs who have bundled together. So they have two lenders. Double everything. So times two on the overall pricing, right? Yeah. So for us, we are one charge 80%. So not only are we 80%, which is not like one of the lower loan to values, but we're one charge 80%. So you really got to compare what kind of 80% you're working with, because like sometimes they don't really even know that it's a bundle, right? Like you need to know that it's a bundle 80, because sometimes they'll just do it all in one commitment and you don't
And
even really.
they won't tell you that stuff. So it's something, and that's a good tip for everybody who's listening to that. When and Alyssa's telling you that too, is next, if you are doing one with somebody like along with another mech, ask them, ask the question, are you guys bundling this? Because I mean, it's a good one to ask them in order to make sure that you're not getting, you know, you're not blindsided by it, or you're not just being told what you should be told. So that's great. It's great advice.
Exactly. And then one thing you didn't mention, but I would like to mention actually, is
Okay.
credit. So you see a lot of like on that Monday morning when you get all the rate sheets sent out, you get like a matrix and it's like 680 plus gets this pricing, 600 plus gets this pricing. For us, we are very flexible on credit, and we're not driven by a beacon score. Like we look at the deal or the entire bureau as a whole. We're assessing risk here. We're not looking at a number and putting it into a bucket. Private lending doesn't work that way. So for us, we say if it's a 550 beacon score, but they're fully utilized, they're a little bit stretched out, but they're making all their payments, they're not overly risky because obviously they're responsible in making their payments. So we aren't pricing them really high just because they're a 550 beacon score, right? So you got to be fair to the credit bureaus as a whole and the clients and how they manage their debt. It can't just be 550, oh, that's the highest pricing, or 480 highest pricing. We got to say, okay, why is it 480? Why is it 550, right? So these type of things are really important and things that we take into consideration when we are pricing. With that in mind, we don't have a minimum beacon score. Like we will take any credit, right? Yes. So any credit is good for us. It affects the pricing on the deal and our overall assessment on the risk of the deal.
Perfect, wonderful. That's great to hear. So I mean, in terms of one thing I wanted to ask, and it's not like an overly crazy question, but can you tell me a bit of territory? Whereabouts are you guys willing to go? That's the next question. I just want to make sure I give it to the right people. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I have a map.
Oh, nice. Here we go.
I'm going to show you my map. Okay.
It's all prepared. Here we go. Oh, look at that.
There we go. I was waiting for that question. No, I'm just kidding. Right. So this is just kind of an overview of the span of where we lend. I know a lot of MICs are just core GTA, or they don't like to go too far outside of the main pocket of Southern Ontario,
and
right?
If they do, then they string you along and then say, I don't like it.
Yeah, maybe. So for us, all of these areas we will consider. We want to be, the biggest thing for us is urban, suburban, cookie cutter subdivision. So like we say we like middle class properties, and I feel like sometimes middle class gets confusing to clients. They're like, or to brokers, they say, middle class, so you mean like you won't go over like $1 million. And that's not true. We will go over $1 million. We consider middle class for the area. So for Toronto, middle class is $2-3 million. Like that's a middle class house.
That's true. Yeah, very true.
Sadly
enough, yeah.
Right? So like we will do that $2-3-4 million house in core Toronto. Now we probably won't do a $4 million house in Kingston, but that's because it's not middle class in Kingston. So
harder to resell.
Middle class is standard for the area we want to be in. So we just want to be the cookie cutter subdivision property in these areas in Ontario. So we do Windsor. I think Windsor's actually cut off in my map.
Yeah, I think Windsor's cut off. Yeah, I knew you guys did Windsor too. You told me that before. So.
Yeah, so Windsor's cut off a little bit, but we do Windsor all the way out to Ottawa up there, and then north to Orillia and Collingwood.
Awesome. And now I have just a random question for you, because it's just because the things have changed so drastically in terms of people moving into the city, stuff like that too. Would you consider any kind of like cottage properties in any sense, or is that kind of off the list here now?
That's unfortunately off the list.
That's okay. No, the reason why I ask is because it's just, I think this year we're going to see, like, I mean, you never know if it's off the list for good. A lot of these brands are going to have to start realizing it's a different day now too, right? So it's tough because people are moving out of those $2 million houses in Toronto and buying a nice cottage for $800,000 up in, like, Prince Edward County, for example, which is between Ottawa and Belleville.
Yeah, love Prince Edward County.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, who doesn't, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we do, like, I feel like we have really started to see like the increase in the market going outside, like even like Durham, Durham area, it has like blown up in Durham. So we are seeing like these areas, the property values increasing like crazy, and we are prepared to follow that trend. But we're sticking to more like main owner occupied residents, not really
No
like the
problem.
vacation home properties.
That's great. No, I just want to make sure because this conversation we had right now too is great because it's the exact to the point information that people need to know in terms of how to deal with the mix situation. And
That's
I
right.
mean, because a lot of these questions come to you, and probably it's like sometimes it's a no, sometimes it's yes. But this is great the way it kind of you shows everything in this one presentation. Is there anything else product wise? Anything you want to mention while we're on the call here? Because I like it was great that we got everything to you like this situation right now, and everything you've kind of said to us is easy, it's simple and straightforward. I want my brokers to reach out to you. I want my brokers to have a conversation with you, and I want them to get to know you better, Alissa, because it seems like like there's a lot of people who will be using this, like I said earlier, and I think it's a great time for you to kind of get to know them more. And if we were in a situation too, if like in these trade shows we haven't been able to go to, it would be great to introduce you face to face. But in the meantime, this is actually the perfect way to get this information across too. So. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that, or?
Yeah, actually, one more thing. So,
Perfect. Yeah.
on the hidden fees thing and just fees in general,
Okay.
one of the biggest advantages to working with RiverRock was that FCT partnership. So, I mentioned it briefly with our 24-hour closing.
Yeah.
So, I also mentioned that we save money on it. So, FCT actually allows the client to only pay for their own set of legal fees and not have to pay for lender legal fees. So, we're actually the only MIC in the space who has this partnership. And the client's only paying for their own set of legal fees, no MIC legal fees, which MIC legal fees are, I don't know if you've seen MIC legal fees, but they are up there around $2,500, $3,000 sometimes. So on the overall cost of borrowing, that makes a huge difference,
Of course.
especially on seconds, right? Like when you think about a second's what? $100,000 second to make math simple, you're
Mhm.
saving $2,000, $3,000. That's 2 to 3% on the overall cost of borrowing.
That's
So
true.
that savings is huge. So I always want to, like, whenever I'm quoting a second to a broker or an agent, I always say, keep in mind that those savings, because when you're comparing pricing, a lot of the times you forget about those closing costs that really do hike the closing cost or the overall cost of borrowing, right? So you just got to know your MIC. Every MIC is different, and you want to have a couple of them in your back pocket. You want to have the ones who will do those cottage countries and like the
Yeah.
vacant lands. Yeah, and then you got to have your residential mix like RiverRock, and then you want to have maybe a commercial MIC. So it's important like just to know your mix and stick to those a couple, just because that way you know what you're in for. Every MIC is different. Everybody's pricing structure is different, and you can't compare apples to apples when all you're doing is looking at rate.
Wonderful. That's a great way to describe it. And I'm sure what. Actually, it'll be good to have you back one time when we get some of the questions in, and then we can do like you can give us some more information based off of what you know about how the mix system works because. I think it's going to be very important coming into this. Like, I mean, I remember like 3 years ago when you started there, I think everyone started saying like, right now it's a necessary, mix are necessary, all this stuff too, but now they're even more necessary. And it's crazy that how that happened because I
Yeah.
remember like a couple of people just saying to me, like we're going to go for a few years, and then I'll probably come back into the AAA space again. But no,
Yeah.
the people who've gone over there have realized that it's with banks tightening up, with different rules coming down all over the place. This is a necessary thing that we need. So yeah, no. So thanks so much, Alissa. And like I said, can you put up your information on the back here? Like, do you have a thank you thing right now? Just because I'm going to get it from you anyway, but it's nice to have. There you go. So there's Alissa's number and email. What I want you guys to do in this scenario is reach out to Alissa because you guys have deals on your desk right now that are definitely in this kind of situation. I know that because we cover the GTA, Alissa. So my brokers that I'll be pushing this to are GTA brokers. So they're the ones who are going to be.
Perfect.
Then that's where that according to that big old map of yours, that's exactly where you need it. So
That's right.
yeah. So Alissa, thanks for coming on. This is a great segment, guys, because we've recorded it ahead of time in order to get the information over to you guys properly. Please reach out to Alissa. I will be sending it to you guys in an email as well for all the information you need. So thank you, Alissa,
Thank you.
and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for having me.
No problem.